My name is Emma. I am 28 years old. My life, until recently, was very simple and very happy. I live in a small, quiet town. The kind of town where people are friendly and life feels safe. I thought my life was perfect. I had a loving husband, a beautiful home. I felt secure. I felt loved. But I learned that sometimes the most perfect-looking lives are built on the biggest secrets. This is my story. A story about a love I thought was real and a shock that changed everything. I met my husband, Leo, 3 years ago. I met him at a friend's party. He was standing by himself, looking out a window. He was handsome, with kind, gentle eyes, but his eyes were also very sad. I felt something pull me towards him. I went and said hello. We started talking. It was easy to talk to him. He was a good listener. He asked me about my life, my job, my dreams. Later that evening, he told me about his life. He told me why he looked so sad. He was a widower. His first wife, Sarah, had died 4 years before we met. He told me she died in a terrible car accident. He spoke about her with so much love and so much pain. His voice was soft and full of sorrow. He said she was the love of his life. He didn't think he could ever be happy again. My heart broke for him. I wanted to take away his pain. He showed me a picture of her that he kept in his wallet. She was beautiful. She had long, dark hair and a smile that looked warm and kind. Her name was Sarah. Even from a small photo, I could see she was a special person. I understood his sadness. We started spending more time together after that party. We went for coffee. We went for long walks in the park. He told me stories about Sarah. Funny stories, happy stories. It felt like I was getting to know her too. He said talking about her with me helped him. It made her feel less gone. I fell in love with him slowly, and then all at once. I loved his kindness. I loved his gentle heart. As we spent more time together, I saw the sadness in his eyes begin to fade. It was replaced by a little bit of light, a little bit of hope. He told me I was bringing happiness back into his life. He made me feel special. He made me feel loved. After a year of dating, he asked me to marry him. We were sitting on a bench in the same park where we had our first walk. He took my hand. He looked into my eyes. He said, "Emma, you have healed my broken heart. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" I cried happy tears. Of course, I said yes. I felt like the luckiest person in the world. I was going to marry this wonderful, kind man. My family loved him. They saw how happy he made me. My mother said, "He is a good man, Emma. He deserves happiness after all his pain." Everyone was so happy for us. We decided to live in the house that he had shared with Sarah. At first, I was a little nervous about that. I worried it would feel like her house, not our house. On the mantelpiece in the living room, there was a beautiful framed photograph of her. The one from his wallet, but bigger. On our first day living there together, Leo asked me, "Do you want me to put this away?" I can if it makes you uncomfortable. I looked at the picture, at Sarah's warm smile. I thought about it for a moment. No, I said softly. You don't have to put it away. She was a big part of your life, an important part. I don't want to erase her memory. She can be a part of our home. Leo looked at me with so much love in his eyes. He kissed me. Thank you, he said. You are so understanding. I thought I was doing the right thing. I wanted to respect his past. I wanted to show him that he could love me without forgetting her. The first 2 years of our marriage were beautiful. They were the happiest years of my life. We made the house our own. We painted the bedroom a soft blue color. We planted a garden in the backyard with roses and bright yellow sunflowers. Leo was a different person. He laughed all the time. The deep sadness was gone. He told me every single day how much he loved me. He would say, Emma, you saved me. I believed him. I felt like our love was strong. Our life was peaceful. The picture of Sarah on the mantelpiece became a normal part of our home, a quiet reminder of a past that we had both accepted. I thought I knew everything about my husband. I thought our love was built on a foundation of honesty and trust. But I was wrong. I was so terribly wrong. The day my world fell apart started like any other day. It was a normal, sunny Saturday in June. I remember the sunshine was streaming through the kitchen window. I was baking a lemon cake. It was Leo's favorite. I could hear him outside in the garden, whistling a happy tune while he worked. I smiled to myself. Life was good, simple, perfect. Then I heard a knock on the front door. I wiped my flour-covered hands on my apron. I walked out of the kitchen. I thought it was probably our neighbor, Mrs. Gable, wanting to borrow some sugar. I opened the door with a smile on my face. The smile disappeared. There was a woman standing on our doorstep. She looked tired and very thin. She seemed lost. She was holding a small, worn-out suitcase. But it wasn't her suitcase that made my heart stop. It was her face. She had long, dark hair and a smile that I knew. I felt the air leave my lungs. I quickly glanced over my shoulder into the living room. I looked at the picture on the mantelpiece. The picture of Sarah. It was her. The woman standing in my doorway was Sarah, Leo's dead wife. My mind started spinning. This was impossible. This couldn't be happening. Sarah was dead. Leo told me. Everyone knew she died in a car accident. This had to be a mistake. Maybe she had a sister, a twin sister he never told me about. Yes, that must be it. It had to be. Can I help you? I asked. My voice came out as a weak, shaky whisper. The woman looked at me and then past me into the house. Her eyes were filled with confusion. I'm looking for Leo, she said. Her voice was quiet and weak. This is my house. My house. The words felt like a punch in my stomach. I'm sorry, I said, my voice trembling. I think you have the wrong house. My name is Emma. I live here with my husband, Leo. I took a deep breath. His first wife. She passed away a few years ago. The woman's face changed. The confusion turned into pure shock. Then her eyes filled with a strange, hurt anger. Passed away, she repeated, her voice getting stronger. He told you I was dead. Just then, Leo came inside from the back door. He was smiling. Emma, who's at the door? He asked cheerfully. Is the cake ready? He walked into the hallway. And then he saw her. He froze. All the color, all the life, drained from his face. He turned pale white. He looked like he had seen a ghost. But this woman was not a ghost. She was real. She was standing right there. Sarah, he whispered. The name came from his lips like a painful, rusted secret. The world seemed to stop. The woman, Sarah, let out a small cry. She looked from Leo's shocked face to my confused face. And then she started to cry. Deep, painful sobs. I just stood there, frozen. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. My perfect life, my happy home, my loving husband. It was all cracking apart. Right in front of my eyes. Leo rushed forward. Sarah, is it really you? How? He looked completely lost. He tried to speak, but only broken words came out. I can explain, he kept saying, looking back and forth between us. This isn't what it looks like. But what else could it be? His dead wife was standing in our hallway, crying, and he had called her by her name. The smell of burning cake suddenly filled the air. I had forgotten all about it. The smell was awful, acrid and bitter. It felt like the smell of my life burning down. I walked numbly to the kitchen and took the black, smoking cake out of the oven. My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped it. When I came back to the living room, they were both sitting down. Sarah was on the sofa. Leo was in his armchair. The silence between them was heavy and full of pain. He finally started to talk, and the story he told was much worse, much more complicated than I could have ever imagined. He looked at me, his eyes begging me to understand. Emma, he began, Sarah didn't die in a car accident. The lie, the first and biggest lie, it hung in the air. He explained that Sarah had always struggled with her mental health. She had a very deep depression. It came and went in waves. Sometimes she was happy, her normal, wonderful self. Other times, she was lost in a dark place where he couldn't reach her. 4 years ago, it got very bad. She had a complete breakdown. One day, she just disappeared. She left a note on their bed. The note said she couldn't take the pain anymore. It sounded like a goodbye. Leo was frantic. He called the police. They searched everywhere. For weeks, he and her family looked for her. They found her car abandoned near a river, miles away from our town. But they never found her. There was no body, no sign of her at all. After months turned into a year, the police stopped searching. Everyone believed she had taken her own life. Eventually, after a long legal process, she was declared legally dead. My head was spinning. But why did you tell me she died in an accident? I asked. My voice felt like it belonged to a stranger. He looked down at his hands. He looked so ashamed. At first, it was too hard to tell people the real story, he said quietly. Telling everyone my wife was very sick and she disappeared and we think she's dead. It was too much. The pity in their eyes, the constant questions. It was so painful. One day, someone asked me what happened, and I just said, a car accident. It was easier. It was simpler. It stopped the questions. He looked up at me, his eyes full of tears. It was a small lie at first, but it grew. When I met you, Emma, I was so broken. You were like a ray of sunshine. I wanted a new life with you. A happy life. A life without all that pain and complication from the past. I thought the only way to do that was to bury the past completely. I convinced myself that Sarah was really gone forever. I know it was wrong. I was a coward. I am so sorry. I listened to his words, but they felt distant. Like they were happening in a movie, not to me. I turned and looked at Sarah. She had stopped crying. She was just sitting there, looking around the room, looking at the new blue paint on the walls, at the new curtains I had made, at her picture on the mantelpiece, next to a picture from my wedding day with Leo. Then Sarah told us her story. Her voice was weak. She said she remembers driving away that day. She was so confused and in so much pain. She ended up in a small town hundreds of miles away. She had a complete memory loss. She didn't know her name. She didn't know where she was from. She had no money, no phone. A kind family who ran a small motel found her. They took her in. They helped her. They gave her a job cleaning rooms. For years, she lived a simple, quiet life in that town. She was just Jane. She never remembered her past until a few months ago. Slowly, like a foggy window clearing up, memories started to come back. A face, a name, Leo, her house. It all came flooding back. The good memories and the bad. As soon as she remembered who she was, she came home. She came home to her husband, to her life. And she found me. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My entire reality, my marriage, my love story, was built on his lie. He didn't just lie to me. He lied to everyone. He chose the easy path, and in doing so, he had created this impossible, heartbreaking situation. For all of us. I looked at Leo, the man I loved, the man I had promised to spend my life with. I didn't recognize him anymore. His kindness now seemed like weakness. His love for me now felt like a desperate attempt to run away from his past. And Sarah, she wasn't a memory in a picture frame anymore. She was a real woman, a fragile woman who had been through a terrible ordeal. And she was Leo's wife, his real legal wife. Our marriage. What was our marriage? Was it even real? A piece of paper, a lie. I stood up. I couldn't be in that house for one more second. I have to go, I whispered. Emma, please, Leo begged, standing up too. Don't leave. We can figure this out. Figure what out? I asked, my voice finally breaking with anger and pain. Your wife, who you told me was dead, is sitting on our sofa. There is nothing to figure out. I walked out of the house. I left my purse, my phone, my keys. I just walked. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away. Away from that house of lies. That night, I stayed at my friend Anna's house. I told her everything. She just held me while I cried. I cried for hours. I cried for the life I thought I had. I cried for the man I thought I loved. I cried because I felt so stupid, so naive. How could I have been so blind? The next few weeks were a nightmare. A blur of lawyers and painful phone calls. It turned out our marriage was not legally valid. It was null and void because Leo was already married to Sarah. He was a bigamist, even if he didn't mean to be. The word felt ugly and sharp. Leo tried to talk to me. He called me many times. He told me he was confused. He said he still loved me, but he had a duty to Sarah. She needed him. She was his wife. He said he was sorry, over and over again. I'm sorry felt like the smallest, most useless words in the world. I had to make the hardest decision of my life. I had to walk away completely. I couldn't be a part of their story anymore. There was no place for me. To heal, I needed to cut the cord. I needed a clean break. I moved out of our house. I packed my clothes and my books into boxes. Leaving that house, the home I had filled with love and laughter, was like tearing a part of myself away. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. It felt empty and quiet. The first few months were very dark. I felt so alone, so heartbroken. The pain was a physical weight in my chest. Some days, it was hard to get out of bed. But my friends and my family were amazing. They surrounded me with love. They let me cry. They made me eat. They reminded me that this was not my fault. I was a victim of his lie too. Slowly, very slowly, I started to heal. I focused on my work. I started painting again, something I used to love, but had stopped doing. I went for long walks. I started to build a new life for myself, a life that was truly mine, a life that was not based on a secret. I learned so much from this painful experience. I learned that love cannot exist without truth. A secret, no matter the reason, will always come out, and it can destroy everything. I learned that sometimes the people we love can hurt us the most. But I also learned that I am strong. I am a survivor. A lie broke my heart and shattered my world, but it did not break me. I don't know what happened to Leo and Sarah. I chose not to know. I needed to completely close that chapter of my life to be able to write a new one. My life is quiet now. It is simple. It's not the perfect, happy life I thought I had with Leo, but it is real. It is honest. Sometimes, I still feel a pang of sadness for the love I lost. But then, I remember the feeling of living a lie, even when I didn't know it was a lie. And I am grateful for my freedom. The freedom to be myself in a life that is completely true. If you are listening to this story, Maybe you feel lost or hurt. Maybe someone has lied to you. Please know that you are not alone. It is okay to be sad. It is okay to be angry. But please believe that you can heal. You can rebuild your life piece by piece. You are stronger than you think you are. Be brave, choose honesty, and most importantly, choose yourself. It takes time, but you can find your way back to peace. Keep going. You can do this.